as the Pac-12 turns, and it seems like we are every day leading this show with the Pac-12 because it feels like over the last 10 days, there's been a lot of news coming out. We heard yesterday from the New York Post and Andrew Marchand that Colorado could be the first team to jump. We have been talking a lot about the CW because there have been reports that the CW and the Pac-12 were in conversations. We confirmed those reports for you. And today we find out that the CW and the Pac-12 are done talking, and we have details inside of why that happened. As we've been telling you for the last week or so, the Pac-12 and the CW were in conversations about a very small deal involving the Western footprint that CW currently brings to the table, and it was going to be for a game or two. It was never going to be all 5 games a week. It was going to be third-tier games. So your first game, conceivably would be on stream, and then your other games would be on the CW perhaps. Well, we found out this morning from a well-placed source that those conversations broke down because the Pac-12 wanted cross-country coverage, because you may know that Nexstar Media Incorporated, who owns the CW, has a network of stations from coast to coast, primarily the biggest number of those stations are from the Rocky Mountains east. But the CW was never going to put Pac-12 football on WGN in Chicago. It was never going to put Pac-12 football on nationally, and that's kind of where this thing fell apart. We were also told by sources today that George Kliavkoff is aiming for a $400 million per season payday from his media distribution deal, and that this was much more along the lines of a $15 million per school per season payday from the CW. But it was, again, one of those situations with the CW, and we talked about this yesterday. They do not have owned and operated stations in the state of Washington or the state of Arizona. So it was always going to be a roll of the dice as to whether they could mandate that any activities with the Pac-12 be carried on those stations. And certainly it would appear that that was not the case here. And talks broke down, we were told 10 days ago, at minimum now. So the CW has come and gone already. And again, we were able to confirm from the highest sources as well that Ion and Scripps Sports have not been in contact with the Pac-12 for months, going way back to the origins of those rumors. And we were told again that those rumors had nothing to do with football or basketball, that they were potentially wrapped in spring sports. So now we are back to, I think, Jake, as far as this first report goes, I think we're back to square one with the Pac-12 and their TV situation.
Yeah, and I think that that's, not great, obviously. I think that, when we talk about the evolution of the Pac-12 TV deal and, like, the momentum and where it's going, I really feel like, it just seems like day after day, we hear, hey, like the CW, hey, NBC, hey, like ESPN had $9 million worth of, of a figure to offer you per school. And I think what's really troubling is it's one of two things. It's either this situation where, George Kliavkoff is just been continually asking too much, like over the course of this entire negotiation the last year, like looking for way too much and people aren't even close, or it's just that people simply don't value the Pac-12 and are just going to say, hey, take it or leave it. And I think that's kind of the tough part. I do think that at some point you'll have a deal, but I think we're getting into territory here with how things are going where you may well have a linear deal, and then you may well have to go out and find something that provides, the stream side of a deal. It feels like as the day goes by, it's getting tougher to find an outlet that will give you both sides of the coin, if you will. And that's what I think is a challenge. I mean, obviously it would be great if you could wrap your entire conference into one media outlet, but that just doesn't seem like a possibility for the Pac-12 right now.
No, I would agree. And I think, what you were saying about the value of this deal, there is a significant disconnect between George Kliavkoff and the people that he is talking to in the TV industry, because he continues to hammer home $400 million, the value of our deal. $400 million is what we need to get. $400 million is the payday that's coming. And I think, Jake, really it's creating unrealistic expectations amongst his leadership in the conference. And I think that's been a big part of why there has been frustration, frankly, about the state of this situation, because George Kliavkoff, if we're being totally honest, George Kliavkoff is not painting, in my opinion, a realistic picture of where he is with his television partners. And I think the other issue that we continue to hear about is that he believes he is worth one thing, and TV providers clearly believe he is for a $400 million package to be delivered from distribution partners. You've got to have more than 5 games a week, because at this point, when you look at really what the inventory is in the Pac-12, it is 5 football games a week. And let's not get this twisted. They're paying for football. Football is what makes the bulk of the money. Now, is basketball valuable? Absolutely. Specifically in the Pac-10, the 10 schools remaining, is it valuable? Not really. You're really looking at Arizona and UCLA as basketball brands in the Pac-12, and that's about it. Even if you were to bring in San Diego State, that doesn't boost your value necessarily directly involving basketball. This Pac-12 TV situation, sources told me today, is all about the value of Pac-12 football. That's the bottom line. And when you look at the 10 remaining teams, the value of the Pac-12's football package is very much in doubt. And it's certainly, by anybody but George Kliavkoff's measure, is not $400 million. And we continue to hear, and we've reported for months and months now, that their deal is going to be between $20 and $25 million. And as you know, early as 2 weeks ago, we were telling you, hey, they're right about, $22 million, 13 coming from stream and 9 coming from linear. And that's the most they've been able to get. Because when I was talking to a well-placed source involving the CW conversation, the word appalling was used. They're asking for an appalling amount of money in the Pac-12. And Jake, I think when you don't understand the value of who you are and where you are, I think it's really off-putting to people you're asking to cut you a check.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it makes you look foolish. It makes you look like you just don't know what you're talking about. I mean, the idea that you're asking for, $400 million on a package that's, just not going to get, your client $400 million worth of value I mean, that's what makes you look foolish. And I truly believe, like, it could be $1 billion. The figure really isn't even the issue. The issue is that your value doesn't justify the figure. So if you're going to ask for $400 million, you damn well better have a way to prove that you can provide $400 million worth of viewership and $400 million worth of value to those clients. And that concept is as old as dirt, man. Like, that's business. That's not something new. That's not something, we're not reinventing the wheel with that concept. So that's why I say, like, I often wonder, hey, like, what is the conversation between George and the presidents and the leadership in the Pac-12? Because you got to remember that if the presidents don't value X, Y, or Z and feel like, the price of their TV deal should be $5 when everyone else thinks it should be $1, George is at their mercy. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. So George is going to be the scapegoat. George is going to be the guy that's going to take the blame. But the real people at fault here are the presidents. This goes all the way back to, replacing a guy like Larry Scott with George Kliavkoff. We're only here because you did that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I wonder, again, and I know we've wondered a lot about this on the show, but how unified is this conference? Because when you look at the narrative that is coming from the parrots in the conference and the parrots in the media who support this conference, we're together. Everybody knows the deal. Nobody's leaving. And then you hear these, but you hear the Stuart Mandells of the world and you hear the Dennis Dodds of the world, the people who have been down the middle on this, talking about the fact that, hey, Colorado could jump right now. It's not a matter of waiting for the TV deal. Colorado could jump right now. And it tells you that there are absolutely cracks in the foundation of the Pac-12.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we've also heard is that, straight up today, we were told that ESPN and the Pac-12 have spoken this week, and that there seems to be, with the Pac-12 and with George Kliavkoff specifically, there seems to be a higher level if you will, of urgency to get ESPN and get a deal done with ESPN. Because as we've told you, not to keep saying we've told you, but as we've told you for months and months now, the presidents in this conference don't see a deal without ESPN. And so the avenue to keep this conference together is, in fact, for George Kliavkoff to negotiate the best deal that he could possibly get from ESPN. And we were told today directly from well-placed sources that ESPN and the Pac-12 have spoken about a framework of a deal. The issue is that, again, we were told the number that ESPN wants to pay per year for the Pac-12 is $90 million. But that includes a game a week on TV and a game a week in the app and on ESPN Plus. The problem with that is, obviously, that's not going to cut the mustard if you're Apple TV or if you're Amazon. Now, if Amazon, let's say, and we've told you on this show that Amazon's looking at a Friday night Pac-12 game of the week, that could work, because going back months and months and months, back to October when we first reported it exclusively right here on the Monty Show, we told you ESPN does not view Amazon as a competitor. It just simply will not get into a fight that allows ESPN to pay a penny more than they would have to pay for these rights. They're just simply not going to do it, because there's not a need there for ESPN to overpay for these rights, because frankly, it's a nice have, it's not a must have. Mm-hmm. And in TV, that is a very big difference. So my question on this deal is, and I asked this directly to our source today, do you see this ever getting beyond $100 million? And my source told me, hey, we'd like to pay $90 million, and I don't see us going beyond that, but I could never imagine a scenario where it goes beyond $100 million a year. And to me, if you're only, and let's say it does get to $100 million, if you're only getting $10 million a year from your linear TV partner, that's a problem.
Yeah. That's
a problem, because you're not getting multiple games. You're probably, giving your best game away, every single week to ESPN and ABC, and you're hoping that that game is of consequence. Because I think the other thing that this does is it prevents you from getting a grant of rights done. I'm a firm believer that at that number, there's not a chance in the world that you're going to get the 10 current, existing members who right now are committed to moving forward in this conference. I don't see any way you get all 10 of them to check the box on the grant of rights. I just don't see how that's at all possible.
Yeah, no, you're 100% spot on. And I think that it's been the core issue for how long? I mean, the philosophical issues with the presidents, with the leadership in the Pac-12 has been the essence of this issue. And that's why I say the presidents are able to hide behind George Kliavkoff and are able to say, well, George is out negotiating and, he's doing his thing. But ultimately, it comes back to them, because George is going to go out to market and get what he can get, and they're going to decide. So to me, the philosophical issues in the Pac-12 have always been the core, issue. They've always been the biggest hurdle in the conversation. So yeah, I mean, I think there's no getting around that. And honestly, I also think that, if we take it a step further with the philosophical thing, hey, some of these schools I don't think are real incentivized to stay in the Pac. They're just committed to seeing what the number would be, so that way they can make it seem like it's a educated decision. But I would not be surprised at all if there were a handful of schools in this conference who are like, yeah, we're ready to go. We just want to make sure the optics are good.
I think, boy, that's an interesting word you use, optics.
Yeah. Because
I do think that optics is one of those words that matters. And a big part of this report, and the one of the sources I spoke to used the word urgency. There is a renewed sense of urgency from George Kliavkoff to get this deal done. I don't know if that's connected to Colorado or not, frankly. But what I think it is, and what we've heard repeatedly, and again, I know this pisses off our Pac-12 brethren, and I understand that. I understand why you're frustrated, why you're nervous. I totally get it. But what I think this says, that TV sources are telling us that there is a renewed sense of urgency from George Kliavkoff, that's telling us that there are more than Colorado ready to go. Mm-hmm. That's telling me that when George Kliavkoff is having his executive meeting this week and their conference calls, and he's talking to presidents, because again, we outlined it on this show, and then it was reported widely across the country that there are calls and meetings every single day between presidents and George Kliavkoff. He is constantly having to put out fires around the conference in frustration. And I think a lot of that is the questions that continue to be lobbed by a-holes like me at presidents in the Pac-12.
Stay hard.
I can only imagine that gets frustrating. I can only imagine that it wears you out every week when Dennis Dodd calls you and says, hey, is there anything new? Because frankly, I'll be candid with you. It is getting uncomfortable for me just to call my sources in television at these major networks. And, it feels like there's a, we're going to talk about this again. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
And we sit on this show every day and we're like, we got to talk about this again. And I think when you're hearing that the Michael Crows and the Robins and the Randalls, the Cossays, the presidents in this conference that are so frustrated, and half of them want streaming and half of them don't. All of them want ESPN, but they're not going to be happy with a game a week on broadcast TV and a game a week in the ESPN app, because that leaves you 3 games that are just hanging out there. And if you're one of those 6 teams, how does that make you feel in recruiting? Which is something else one of my TV guys brought up to me today. This is killing the Pac-12 in recruiting.
Yeah.
Because you are talking to juniors every single day of the year. You are talking to high school juniors who a year from now will be ready to finish their senior year and go on to college and play ball somewhere.
Hey, guys.
And because they have no idea, will we have a TV deal? Will there still be 10 members? Will there be a conference at all when camp opens in the fall of 2024? Will this conference still exist on July 2nd, 2024? I don't know the answer to that question. And if you're Kyle Whittingham or you're any of these other great coaches in this league, outside of Chip Kelly at UCLA and now Cliff Kingsbury at USC, who was brought onto the staff to work with quarterbacks, and Lincoln Riley brought Cliff Kingsbury. Those guys are talking about being in big games in the Big Ten. But if you're Dillingham at ASU or if you're Fish at Arizona, I mean, name it.
Yeah.
You're swimming upstream now because you have no idea where you're going to be.
Yeah.
I truly think the answer of I'm not sure. That's how, if you're sitting in a kid's living room or in a locker room or in an athletic director's office at a high school, and a kid says to you, hey, what's going on with this TV deal? I have no idea. I have no idea. Because if you lie to them and you say, oh, we're good to go, it's good to go. And then Colorado bails and Arizona bails and
People are misinterpreting what I'm saying.
they're not coming to play for you.
Yeah.
And the problem is you have no idea when that's going to happen. You have no idea when a TV deal is going to be announced. I mean, this is absolutely gutting you in recruiting. Now, corporate sponsors, not so much, right? Because if you play at, America First Field or you're still going to play games. College football is not going anywhere. It's just a matter of what conference are you going to be in. So your corporate sponsors, absolutely. Now, does it hurt the dollar value of your corporate sponsorship? Sure it does.
Yeah.
But right now, I think this is crippling you, absolutely crippling you when it comes to high school recruiting right now.
Absolutely. And I think the future relationships you would pursue in everything from recruiting to corporate sponsorship, like the people who are not your sponsor right now, who may have been interested and are just quote monitoring the situation. Hey, we're gonna go ahead and wait and monitor the situation. Monitor the situation,
Dude.
Guy is not real pleased with
Monitor
what you're doing.
the situation
right now.
guy.
Yeah, I got one for you. Monitor the situation guy who's trying to figure out if he's got enough butter for the toast. Isn't real pleased with what's going on in the Pac-12
Here
right
we
now.
go. Here we go. While you guys hit the like button, let us tell you that Bucked Up Energy is the official energy drink of the Monty Show. If you are new to this show, maybe this is your first time ever watching the show, we always have hookups for you at Bucked Up Energy in the description below on this YouTube channel. If you're listening on our audio podcast as well, awesome. In the description below, you're going to see a link that says free Bucked Up samples. Click on it. They're going to send you 3 free samples of your choice. You go in, hey, are you a pre-workout guy? Are you a BCAAs guy? Man, I cannot say enough about the racked BCAAs. I love grape, but peach ring is another great flavor of BCAAs. I can't say enough about the products at Bucked Up, and you don't even have to take my word for it. You get 3 free samples, and they're giving you a free shaker, any color combination you want. So get them sent to your house for free, right? And then make a decision. And when you're ready to buy, make sure you use the promo code Monty to save 20% off at checkout at buckedup.com. But go get the free samples, you guys. I tell you every day on this show, Miami is the greatest beverage. Miami Bucked Up Energy, 0 sugar. If you're like me, you're a 0 sugar guy. I don't drink my calories. This entire can has a grand total of 0 calories in it. We don't drink our calories on the program, right? So Bucked Up Energy is fantastic in the state of Utah. Make sure you go to any of their Bucked Up stores. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. They're going to give you a free can of Bucked Up Energy. I personally shop in South Jordan and Murray. The Orem store is amazing. Farmington Station, down in our good friends in the Jeezy. What's up, Southern Utah? You guys are on fire today. I think it's like 170 degrees in St. George, Utah today. Go get yourself a nice ice cold Bucked Up and chill out. But first, click the link in the description below to get your free samples. All right, let's handle some financial business because Stephen Smith gives us a $10 tip to say, what are your guys' thoughts on your Mark announcement about the Big 12 going to Mexico? Again, something else we say on this show every single day.
Yeah.
Brett Yormark made an announcement.
How about that?
It's like every day.
Dude, I mean, it's just clockwork.
And I don't know how you, if you're Kliavkoff and you're trying to save, not run, you're trying to save the Pac-12. What is it that you say when you hear Rucker Park? When you hear, wow, look at that. The Big East Big 12 basketball battle was announced again today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're going to Mexico. I think it's fantastic. I think it's exactly what you should be doing, which is you should be growing your footprint.
Yeah.
If you can get fans throughout the hemisphere, why wouldn't you do that? From Canada to Mexico to Central America, like, why wouldn't you do that?
Facts.
There's just no downside to it, because if, let's say, in the future, wherever the Big 12 winds up streaming, hey, if you can go play a basketball tournament, if you can go play a Maui Invitational in Mexico City,
yeah.
If you can go play a Maui Invitational in Quebec, Toronto, Montreal, why wouldn't you? If you can go play an outdoor tournament or clinic at Rucker Park in New York, why wouldn't you? Because what's that doing? That's lighting the fire of pipelines for your talent, whether it's football, whether it's basketball, whether it's baseball, it doesn't matter. You're expanding by exposing your brand to people who didn't even know you were alive.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game, friends. Like, why would you not do that, right?
Yeah.
First one in today is J.K. Marshall, who commented all the way back at 12 o'clock this afternoon and said, exclusive, oh, I'll be there. Mike Chase, oh, that's nice of you. Mike says, good luck tomorrow on your colonoscopy cleanse. Get you something nice to read and a pillow to rest your head. You have a colonoscopy on Thursday.
Dude, tomorrow's going to be rough, bro.
It is absolutely going to be rough.
Yeah.
We will, by the way, we are off tomorrow. Hopefully, I have my colonoscopy Thursday morning at 7. Hopefully we'll, the butthole be, fine enough to be ready to go.
Hugh Janus.
On Thursday. Yeah. By the way, Jake, pull it out. Michael
yeah.
Peck. Let's go.
What's up, bro?
Michael Peck, good to see you. Are you guys a member of the show? If you are not, make sure you hook it up. You can be a member of our exclusive members-only content for $9.99 a month. That gets you into our members-only Instagram chat where we loaded all of our Pac-12 information ahead of time today. You'd have known about this at about 11:30, 12 o'clock today.
Yeah.
You would have known about this because we put it in our Instagram chat first. Always, when you join our show and you support us for $9.99 a month, you get all of our inside information first. So, Michael Peck, appreciate you. Meta Rocket 304. Okay. Meat Rocket. I misread that.
Meat Rocket.
304.
Hiscock.
Is that on your birth certificate? He gave us $10 to say, regardless of what happens between the Pac-12 and the Big 12, I hope you continue to cover the Big 12 in the future. I've been watching your show daily for months now. Appreciate that.
I appreciate that, bro.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with, where we are here in the Western United States.
United States.
And we're a national show, but we absolutely talk a ton of Big 12, talk a ton of Pac-12. We talk a ton of college sports all day long right here on the Monty Show. Keaton Critchlow says, hey, Monty.
Hey, Monty.
Hey, Monty. Good to see you. What's up, Brad Turner? He says, is he the only one that was living in his car at one point? I think it's pretty clear Tavion has some mental stuff going on. Dude.
It's rough.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
It is terrifying what's going on. If you're just tuning in on the show, Tavion Thomas this afternoon is in jail. Tavion is under arrest for domestic violence-related charges. He allegedly threatened his girlfriend with a knife, took her phone away from her, and told her if she was to call authorities, she would be dead before they arrived. Tavion Thomas is in jail, and he will not even see a detention hearing until April 21st, 10 days from today.
That's right, T.
He's going to be in jail. That entire stretch, the NFL draft is the least of his worries. Now he's fighting for his freedom. And it's a very scary situation if you have not seen it.
Yeah.
You just hope that everybody's okay there. Tanner Plummer, the Super Soaker, says, this sucks for Tavion in society. We need to have some sort of come to Jesus moment when it comes to this stuff. But let's be honest, Tanner. This is not the first time that Tavion's had off-field issues. Yeah, I mean, if we're being truthful, right? We heard about this all last year. He missed a ton of time. And it was always off-field, personal issues.
In the doghouse with Witt.
Yeah, Tavion's not available. And you know what? Next man up, dude. Next man up. C. Kaufman, my guy, what's up? The grant of rights runs out August 1st, 2024. They don't need a notice if there is no contract. Nobody has any obligation to this Pac-12 conference after the coming athletic cycle. So once this, and I actually think the contract runs out July 1st, 2024. Once they go through football, basketball, spring sports, it's over. I am telling you, long before that date, and I would guess it would be in the next 2 to 6 weeks, I believe multiple members will make significant decisions. And whether it's stay or go, the Colorado thing is really interesting to me because I do believe that Colorado makes a lot of sense, and we've talked about this.
Yeah.
We've talked about this on the show.
Right.
Several times. So I just happen to think that,
I mean, Prime is an aggressive guy, and again, that's always what I go back to. I mean, again, whether he wins or loses, you can't take away from the fact that he's a forward-thinking, new age type of personality, and that's very clearly what Brett Yormark is. I mean, the Mexico thing, there's so many examples. So to me, just on that baseline, it's a match.
Tanner Plummer says, whip it out, Jake, and that's because go Black 45.
Yeah,
go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Go Black 45. Appreciate you being here, my friend. Thank you very much. Bob Holsey says he allegedly threatened her with Rudy Gobert. Well, we probably shouldn't
see
joke
that. That you tried too hard on that one, buddy.
Probably shouldn't joke.
Yeah, too much.
Go Black says, I'm back, baby. Let's go.
Back.
If you want to be a member of the program, there's the link right there. Again, $1.99 or $9.99. You make the choice. Anybody that's a $1.99 member, we always are going to read your comments first. Like Jacob DeLambo, who says, what's going to happen to all those recruits from Florida and Texas? Well, my guess is they're going to end up at the Big 12. I mean, if you're a Texas football player, it's going to be tough to get out of the Big 12 now.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, unless you're an elite player and you wind up at UT in Austin, or, I could see Texas A&M, obviously. That puts you in the SEC. But it's awfully difficult to think that you're going to get out of the state of Texas if you're an elite football player. I mean, if you want the Big 12, you want the SEC, okay, they're right there in your backyard, right? So the question becomes how much of the Big Ten is coming in to Texas to steal recruits.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate question. So we'll see. Matt Hart, says Pac-12 next year, Washington, Oregon, Utah, Cal, Stanford, Oregon State, Washington State, San Diego State, Fresno State, and SMU. You know, the Washington, Oregon part, I'm down with that. Utah, I don't know. I'm not convinced on Utah. I have gone back and forth on this 1,000 times. I really have. I've gone back and forth on this 1,000 times. I mean, I wish it was as simple as bbqpitstop.com to get yourself some asado seasoning. Because if it was, I mean, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, right? Because you know that when you hear bbqpitstop.com, you think, okay, well, now I got the best equipment, whether it's a Traeger, a Yoder, a Big Green Egg, or a Camp Chef. I've got the best equipment.
Now we're really cooking.
bbqpitstop.com.
Best.
But if I want that asado seasoning, or if I want the wing dust, or the rub, or the sauce, or the tongs, because every man needs a good beefy set of tongs.
Yeah.
An apron,
I'm
pellets
for
for my smoker, accessories, a cover for my smoker. Jake used our smoker this weekend, left the cover off, poured rain, destroyed the smoker. That's a lie. It doesn't rain anymore in Utah. But we have this beautiful cover, and the smoker looks brand new. Even after this winter with all the snow and rain, the smoker is spotless because it's a Traeger. And the Traeger cover's the best cover in the business. bbqpitstop.com. Make sure you check them out in Logan, Layton, Lehigh, St. George, Murray on State Street right across from the mall. And in 3 days, hello, Payson.
Yes.
Payson, Utah.
Yes.
You are the newest home of a barbecue pit stop. Get out and support them Friday and Saturday for their grand opening weekend at Barbecue Pit Stop in Payson. Let's go.